Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you for attending our webinar today on the rights of immigrant families in New York City Public Schools. This is going to be presented by Diana Aragundi and Rita Rodriguez-Engberg from Advocates for Children of New York. Today's agenda. Today we're going to cover who we are, the rights of parents and students in New York City Public Schools, the rights of English language learners or ELLs, the rights of ELLs with disabilities, a bit on testing and promotion for students who are learning English, who to speak to with questions or concerns, and how to create a New York City Schools account or NYCSA. What is Advocates for Children? AFC is an independent agency that protects the rights of all New York City students to an education. We provide several services, including our helpline. The number is on the screen, 1-866-427-6033. It's open Monday through Thursday, 10 to 4, but you can call at any time and leave a message and somebody will get in touch with you. You can call us with any question you have about your child's education, any problems, any issues. If you're planning ahead for something, give us a call. You can call in any language and leave a message in whatever language you'd like, and somebody will get back to you with an interpreter. We also provide free legal services to low-income families. We have several guides and resources on our website, which are translated into many languages. They're at advocatesforchildren.org. We also provide free workshops and trainings around the city to parents and to professionals, and we engage in policy advocacy and impact litigation to improve the quality of education for all New York City students. Our first topic is around the rights of parents and students in New York City public schools. Be mindful that the rights we're going to be speaking about are specific to New York City. First, who can enroll in school? Between what ages does a child have the right to attend school in New York City? This means that if a child or if a parent wants their child to attend school, they have the right to attend school. There should be a school available for the child. The answer there is children between the ages of 4 and 21 have the right to attend public school in New York City. They can stay in school until they graduate or until the year that they turn 21, whichever occurs first. In other places, the right is 5 to 21, 5 years old to 21 years old, but in New York City, we have universal pre-K. So children who are 4 have the right to attend school because there is a guaranteed seat for them in the city's pre-K program. And youth can stay in school until the year that they turn 21, meaning if they turn 21 in September, October, they're allowed to stay in school to finish that entire school year. For students who have special education needs and who have an IEP, they're allowed to stay in school until the year that they turn 22, if they need it. Between what ages is it mandatory for children to be in school? This means that if for some reason the child is not in school, the school can ask questions, they can call the family, they can get the city agencies involved. So we want to make sure that the youth are in school during between these ages because it's mandatory for them to be in school. 6 to 17 years old. So if a child or youth turns 17 in, say, October of the school year, they have to stay in school until they finish this entire school year or until next June. It doesn't mean that when a child turns 17, they're allowed to just drop out. And again, as we mentioned, if the school notices that a youth who's 17 or hasn't turned 18 yet, has not been attending school, they can call the family, they can get the city involved. And so we want to make sure that parents know that their children have to remain in school to finish the year that they turn 17. And if you have a child who's 4 or 5, they don't have to be in school, though we do encourage it so that they can begin getting an education as soon as possible. Does immigration status of the child or the parents matter? This is an easy one. Nope, the immigration status of a child or their parents does not matter. Children are entitled to receive all services that other students receive, regardless of their family status or the child's status. As we said, immigration status of the family does not matter. The child has the right to go to school regardless of their immigration status or their family status. Nobody at school or in the New York City public schools should be asking about the parent's immigration status or the child's immigration status. And if somebody does find out, they have to keep it confidential. If a document asks for a social security number, simply leave it blank. No need to put that in on any form. And as I mentioned, students are entitled to receive all school services, including free lunch, free breakfast, transportation, and educational services, even if they or their family are undocumented or they're from a mixed status family. Language access rights. So in order for parents to be able to participate in their children's education, which is a right in New York City, they have to be able to communicate. And so for that reason, parents have the right to receive translation and interpretation services in New York City public schools at no cost to them. By translation, we mean they should be receiving letters, forms, meeting notices, report cards, any special education documents in their language, as long as the school knows that they speak one of the top 10, 12, 12 languages in New York City, and the school is providing interpretation for those letters and forms or notices. The parents should be getting that information. If for some reason the parent is not getting the documents translated, they should inform the school about what their home language is, so that the school can note it in the system, in the school system, and be able to then automatically generate all documents into their language. If a parent speaks a language that's not one of the top 12 languages in New York City, but they would like special education documents translated into their language, they can request those from the school, and New York City Public Schools can translate special education documents, IEPs, evaluations, etc., into the parent's language, even if they don't speak one of the top 12 languages. When we talk about interpretation, we mean interpretation having a person available or somebody on the phone available to interpret at parent-teacher conferences, IEP meetings, suspension hearings, special education hearings, or if the parent goes to any DOE office or school with any question or for a meeting, they should be providing an interpreter or a phone interpreter. If you or somebody you're working with needs assistance with translation services, ask your child's school for assistance or call 718-935-2200. That's a complaint line that the DOE has, the New York City Public Schools has, if you need help. Parent-teacher conferences are meetings that happen several times a year for parents to be able to engage with the teachers, ask questions, understand how things are going for their child. You have the right to attend parent-teacher conferences with an interpreter or a phone interpreter, and this should be provided again for free by the Department of Education. If you need an interpreter, let your child's teacher know before the day of the conference. That way they can organize it and make sure that there's someone available. Parent-teacher conferences start this week. You should schedule an appointment with your child's school if nobody has reached out. And we always advise families to prepare questions ahead of time. So if you have any concerns, any questions, prepare them so that in the short time that you have with the teacher, you're able to get those questions out. Treat it like you're going to a doctor's appointment. Make sure that you're organized and that you get your questions in so that you can find out how your child is doing. Some sample questions you can ask about which subjects your child is doing really well in. Are there any areas that your child needs more help in? What can you do at home to help your child? How is the child behaving? Do they have friends? Do they eat their lunch? So anything that you're concerned about, it's a good time to ask at parent-teacher conferences.
Thanks, Rita. So now we're going to talk a little bit about the New York City public school system. A lot of you may be familiar with the system, but when we're working with immigrant families, they may be coming from school systems that don't look like our New York City public school system, and our system may be different from the systems in other states. So we just remind parents generally, we have a preschool system. We have grades 3K and pre-K. So generally children who are 3 and 4 years old. Then we have the elementary school system that goes from grades kindergarten to 5th grade. There are some schools that go to 6th grade. There are some schools that go from kindergarten to 8th grade, but primarily elementary schools go from kindergarten to 5th grade. And then after 5th grade ends and students are promoted, they go into middle school. And those are typically schools that are grades 6 to 8. And then finally, we have high school, which is typically grades 9 to 12. As I shared before, some schools can go from kindergarten to 12, but those are in the minority. Most schools follow this example. So we're going to talk a little bit about the right to choose a school for children who are turning 3 next year. So in 2026, they will be 3 years old. Their applications open in January 2026, and they close in February 27, 2026. And then there's the 3K offers will be released in May 2026. So parents of children who were born in 2023 can apply for 3K for September of the next school year. And they can apply online on myschools.nyc, or they can send an email to esenrollment@schools.nyc.gov. Parents can also make a call at 718-935-2009 if they are having challenges using online or email. And similarly for students in pre-K, that application opens up also in January, on January 14th, 2026, and it closes on February 27th. And the pre-K offers are released on May 12th, 2026. And this is for students who are turning 4 next year. So they were born in 2022. And parents can apply in the same manners as parents for 3K, online or through email, calling the 718-935, apologies, 2009 number. They can also contact the Family Welcome Center and ask for support. Now, for children in kindergarten, if they're, if they're eligible for kindergarten, they can apply the November to January of the preceding school year. So again, this is for a child, if they're not in pre-K, if they're not attending pre-K, typically they're turning 5, they can apply for kindergarten. The process will open up, and they can make that application. For students in middle school, the middle school process is already open, and we have the dates on a slide, a few slides, in a few slides. But parents can attend virtual visits and fairs. They can, if schools have, in-person open houses, they can go into the school and apply and learn more about the school. And they can use the My Schools website to learn more about the program, and learn more about the program and see if there are different options that they're interested in. For high school students, there are fairs and open houses that are open during the fall. Families can visit, whether it's virtually or in person. And the high school application process is also open, and we're going to talk about those dates. I did see there was a question about 3K. 3K is not universal. Pre-K is universal, which means that every child is guaranteed a seat. But for 3K, it really depends on availability. So we do not have, the Department of Education doesn't have universal 3K, but parents can make an application. And if there's a seat available, their child, will get it. So I've spoken a little bit about My Schools and mentioned it as a way to be able to apply for school. It's a DOE website, and you can apply, explore different programs. I know here on the slide we say you can apply online for middle school and high school. You can also apply for pre-K and learn more about different programs and see if, filter for different things that you are interested in. If the family speaks a different language, they can also use the tab to change the language to a language that that is their preferred language. And you create an account by providing your name, your email address, your phone number, and your address. That is all you need to be able to create an account. So we encourage families, if they know how to create an email address, they can create a My Schools account, and the website is myschools.nyc. Now, to be able to use the account to its fullest capacity, which means to be able to make that application, you need to be able to add a child to your account. And to add a child to your account, you need 2 things. You need a student ID, which is the 9-digit number that usually you'll find on your child's report card, on any special education documents that the child has, or you can ask the school. Sometimes students have school IDs, the 9-digit number will be there. So and if you don't know it and you don't have access to your child's report card, you can just ask the school. You can speak to the parent coordinator. And then you're also going to request the creation code from the school. You may have been given a document with your child's creation code. It's a unique code, but if you haven't received it, you can ask for it. You don't need the creation code if your child is applying to preschool. You can do that just by putting your child's information in and apply for them. But if your child is attending school, you do need the creation code from the school to create the account. So some important dates that we want you all to keep in mind. Middle school applications are open and they close December 12th. and offers are being made on April 15th of 2026. The high school applications are also open and they are due by December 3rd, and offers are being made March 5th, 2026. The specialized high school admissions test, the registration has ended. It ended in October, and testing is occurring now. And offers for those schools will be made on March 5th, 2026. And for students and families who are interested in charter school options, charter schools generally have an apply by date of the first week of April. But if families are interested in charter schools, they should reach out directly to the charter school and see what the application process is for them. So what happens if you don't apply to school? And so what, every so often we hear from families that either they, arrive to the city outside of the application deadline, so they move into the city and they've missed the application, or they didn't know how to do it and they weren't able to do it. So for students who are supposed to attend middle school, so they're in 5th grade and they're supposed to go to 6th grade, the families can enroll children in their zone school. So if they are interested in enrolling, they can go directly to the school and enroll their child there. And to find your zone school, and a zone school just means a school that is in your zone. It's usually the school closest to you. Families can call 311. They can visit the Department of Education's website. You can use that My Schools website to find and identify what is your zone school, or they can contact their local family welcome center. So you have many different options to find out what your zone school is. If your child's attending school, you can also speak to the parent coordinator or the guidance counselor to get more information. For students who are entering high school, if you do miss that high school application deadline, you have, if they are attending 8th grade, you can speak to the school and see if they are able to provide support. But if you're new to the city, you have to contact the Family Welcome Center, and then you go to the assigned school and you complete the registration there. So there's a 2-step process for high school that is a little different from middle school or elementary school.
Thanks, Anna. Now we're going to shift and talk about the rights of English language learners. So what are English language learners? English language learners are students who speak a language other than English at home and who need support in school to learn how to read, write, understand English. And so these students usually they undergo a test. The parents have to fill out a survey with the help of a teacher at school. Then the students undergo a test, and then the school determines that the student needs help to learn English. And so we have some students who may, have grown up in the US, but their family speak a different language at home. And so when they get to school, they still need that extra help to be able to participate in classes in English, to be able to read, write, and understand English. Where I'm going to keep referring to these students as ELLs, but as you know now, it stands for English language learners. As a parent, you have the right to participate in the process of identifying your child as an ELL. What this means is that you have to be part of the conversation about what language a child expresses themselves in, what languages are spoken at home. And then once the child takes a test and it's determined that the child needs help learning English, the parent then participates in selecting what type of program they prefer for their child. And I'm going to speak about that in the next slide. But if the child needs help learning English, the parent has the right to choose a bilingual or an English as a new language program. Students who are English language learners must receive support until they can read, write, and speak in English. And there are several ways that students stop receiving services, but it's usually after they take various tests and then the school decides that they no longer need assistance. These are the various programs that New York City Public Schools provide for students who are learning English. The first is called English as a New Language. This program, it used to be called ESL, now it's called ENL. It's a program or services for students who are learning English, and they're provided in every New York City public school, for all elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools. The model of the English of ENL is that it's taught in English only. And so, for example, you might have a child who's in a class with other students who are also learning English, and the teacher does not have to speak their language. The teacher can only speak English if that's the teacher's language. And the teacher uses strategies so that all the students in the classroom learn how to speak English. Another way that this is taught is a student could, for example, be in high school and they have, say 7 classes per day or 35 classes per week. It could be that a few of those classes are English as a new language classes where they're in a classroom with other students who are also learning how to speak English. And in that situation, the youth will be in classes during most of the day where everything is being taught in English, and then they get the additional help in 1 or 2 or even more periods during the week to learn English. A second model is called the Transitional Bilingual Education Program. There are actually 2 bilingual programs, this one and the dual language program. The Transitional Bilingual Education Program, these are classes that are designed to use the home language. So say in this example, Spanish. All the students in the class speak Spanish, the teacher also speaks Spanish, and the teacher uses that foundation in Spanish to help all the kids in the class learn how to speak English over time. So it's a transition from Spanish to English over time. So the classes are taught in English and the home language, again in this example, Spanish, but the goal ultimately is to learn how to speak English. And at first, the teacher uses more Spanish than English, or more Arabic than English, or more French than English. And then as the time goes by, every year, they start using more and more English and less of the home language, so that after several years, all the kids in the class, all of the students are now speaking in English. But again, they have used their home language as support or as a foundation to be able to learn English. These programs are great for youth, especially those who are in high school and middle school, who may come to the US for the first time, but have an academic background already in their previous language, in their home language. And so it's very useful to be able to use those skills while they learn English. The third program model is called dual language. And the dual language classes are great because these are fully bilingual. So half of the students in the class, or half or so of the students in the class, are learning English and say they speak French at home, and then the other half speak English at home. And so the goal of a dual language program is for both sets of students to become bilingual in each other's language. So the classes are taught in English and, say in this example, Arabic, and all the materials are in English and Arabic. One day could be in English, the next day can be fully in Arabic. All the subjects are taught in both languages. And the goal is for all the students in the class to end up being bilingual in English and in the language of the class. What happens if your child's school does not have a bilingual program available? If the child's school doesn't offer a bilingual program, your child can transfer to another school in the district that offers a bilingual program, but you have to work with the school or work with one of the family welcome centers to determine whether or not there is a seat in a bilingual program in your district so that you can make that transfer. The thing is all schools offer ENL, and some parents might not know that they have the right to transfer to a bilingual program. So it's always great to have a conversation either with the teacher, the parent coordinator, or the principal to ask whether or not A, the school has a bilingual program, or B, whether you can initiate that transfer request to have your child attend a bilingual program in a different school. And if the child ends up getting a seat in a school that has a program, they could be entitled to free transportation or bus if the school is at a certain distance away from their home. So English language learners, which is what we're talking about, students who are learning English, they have to take 2 tests, one that they take once and another that they have to take every year until they stop receiving services to learn English. So the first test they take is called the NYC. I mentioned this before. When the child enrolls in school, the parent has to sit and answer some questions about what languages the family speaks at home and what languages the child speaks in. And then if it's determined that the child might need help to learn English, they have to sit for this test called the NYC. This test is given to students within 10 school days of enrolling in school, if not less, and it determines the child's level of English abilities. So it tests their understanding of English, how they write in English, what they're able to comprehend, and what they're able to speak in English. That test is only given once. Then there's a test that students have to take every year, which is called the NYSSLAT, the New York State English as a Second Language Achievement Test. This is for students who have already been identified as English language learners, and it tests every year whether they've made any progress in English. So students who are placed in a bilingual or ENL classes have to take this test. It's usually in the spring around April or May. So if you have a child who's an English language learner, make sure that you are alert about when this test is going to happen to make sure that your child is prepared, has had a nice breakfast, and is ready to go the morning of that test. There are certain accommodations for students who are learning English, testing accommodations. They can get extra time during tests. They can sit in a separate location away from other classmates to be able to concentrate better. They're entitled to a third reading of the listening section of the English language arts exam. There are usually 2 readings of it, but they can get a third. They're also entitled to glossaries to help them switch between languages. These are not definitions. It's just sort of like, what's the equivalent word in English or Spanish or, whatever language. They're also entitled to written translations of certain tests, of course, other than the English test. And they're also entitled to oral translations of tests for low incidence languages. So these are languages that are not in the top 12 or languages that haven't already been used for translating some of the state tests. They can get oral translations of these tests.
Okay, thanks, Rita. So we've just spoken about English language learners, ELLs, and now we're going to shift and talk about ELLs, the rights of ELLs with disabilities. So the IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, is a federal law that protects students with disabilities, and it provides that schools must give students with disabilities a free education that is appropriate. And ELL students who are learning English that also have disabilities have a right to an appropriate education and to ELL academic services. And ELL students with disabilities have the right to receive bilingual special education. So we're going to talk a little bit more about what that is and what that looks like and what type of services are available for students who are learning English and also have a disability. So what is bilingual special education? These are services that are provided to students who are ELLs and have disabilities. And so for students who are ELLs and have disabilities, there are bilingual evaluations, which means that they're being evaluated bilingually in English and in their language of origin. So if they have been in the country for a very little time, or they've been here for a very long time, if they're considered an ELL, if they're learning English in school, they should be evaluated bilingually. They have a right to bilingual special education classrooms. So as Rita mentioned before, there are bilingual classrooms, but there are also bilingual special education classrooms, classes for students who both require support to learn English and require special education support to be able to access their curriculum. And there are also bilingual related services. Related services are supports for students that are in addition to the classroom, and that can include speech language therapy, it could include counseling, and these are services that are in the child's home language. And so it is important to know that students do not have, to pick between getting ELL services to learn English and to receive support for their disability. When we're thinking about students with disabilities, we're just going to take a step back and think about the rights of students who may be struggling a bit in school. So sometimes we have students who are struggling and they do have a disability and they have an individualized education program. They are receiving services, but we also know that there are students who may not have been identified as a student with a disability. They may not require or need those type of services, but they are struggling. If a child is at risk for repeating a grade, the school should inform the family at the parent and teacher conference or by no later than February 15th. So usually around that time, parents start receiving notices from the school that their child's promotion is in doubt. We always encourage families, there's usually a parent-teacher conference in March, so we encourage families to ask at that parent-teacher conference if their child's promotion is in doubt, just to confirm with the school if they're, as Rita mentioned, some of the questions that we ask, how your child is progressing, if they are, having any trouble with anything. One of the questions I always suggest to parents is for the March parent-teacher conference to ask if my child's promotion is in doubt. If the child's promotion is in doubt, they have a right to receive reading and math help and at school, and this is in addition to their class supports, and this is called an academic intervention services. So parents can ask the school if their child is being, is promotion in doubt, if they're receiving these academic intervention services. And then there's also summer school. Some of you may be familiar with summer school. It's offered for students beginning third grade who are at risk of repeating a grade. And this is not to, confuse anyone with Summer Rising, which is a program that has like academic and social enrichment that is, happens like alongside summer school. But students who are at risk of repeating a grade are offered summer school. And it is something that we encourage families to take advantage of if their child needs that additional support. So we're going to shift a little bit to testing and promotion criteria. This is often something that can be a little confusing, especially between grades and when we get to high school. So for kindergarten to second graders, the decision to promote the student to the next grade is made with the school principal, the child's teacher, and the student's parents. So students at that age are not, undergoing state testing. They, are generally they're attending school, but they're not. They may have some testing, but it isn't anything that is state testing. So it generally is at the discretion of the school and with, in consultation with the family. So it should be a conversation with the parent, and if the student is at, risk of being held back, that should again be a conversation with the family about what the school is doing to address if the student's going to be held back. Are they considering evaluating the student for special education services? Is there a conversation of what's going to be different if the student is going to repeat kindergarten or first grade or second grade? And so whenever we hear about students potentially being held back in those grades, we encourage families to ask about what kind of supports the school will provide. For students in grades 3 to 8, promotion is based on a variety of factors, and that includes those statewide tests. It includes classwork and grades. And so it's really important to think about, what students are doing at that time and what type of supports that they may need. And at that point, if the student's being, their promotion is in doubt, they will be encouraged to attend summer school. And maybe there are additional at-risk service. There are these academic intervention services that they can take part in. And then we always encourage families to ask if it's potentially, if the student hasn't been evaluated for special education services, to consider that if we're seeing a pattern or prolonged issues with academic delays. For students who are high school aged, this is where sometimes it can be really confusing for parents, because there is it's based on how many credits you accumulate, and also in New York State, you have to pass exit exams, final exams, which are called the Regents exams. So for grades 9 through 12, promotion is based on how many credits a child earns. So credits or points, whatever is easier for families to understand. Some classes are worth 1 point or half a point or half a credit. It really depends on the class the way each course is credited. So usually you can look at your child's report card or ask for a transcript so that you can get a sense of what each class is worth. But for grade 9 to be promoted to the following grade, you need 8 credits. And then for grade 10, you need to, at the end of the school year of 10th grade, you need to have accumulated 20 credits. And these credits have to be in the appropriate spots. So, sometimes, all students are taking English language arts, math, social studies, and science, but credits have to be in the right spots, and including, gym, physical education, health, and electives. So if you have any questions about that, we have tip sheets on our website, but there you can also speak with your child's counselor to get a sense of if they're accumulating the credits in the right spots. So to graduate, they need 44 credits, and again, in the right spots, in the right classes. But they also need 90% attendance. And to get a high school diploma, they need to pass 4 regents plus 1 state-approved exam. That can be in other regions. It can be an advanced placement exam. It can also, include other, forms of state-approved exams. And so it is important to see where your child how your child is doing with the regents. Are they passing the regents? Are they struggling to pass the regents? Do they need additional supports? There are safety nets for English language learners. And so it's important to know that if your child is an L, there are safety nets for them. If your child is a student with a disability, there are also protections for them with Regents exams. So again, these are other things to consider, and we have more information about that on our website. So this is often something that parents ask us, like who do you speak to when you have concerns? Who can you ask different questions to? We always encourage parents to start off with the teacher first. They're the people who know your child the best. They're the ones who can, resolve a lot of the, confusion or issues that you may have. Um, if your child is an L and is learning English, we also encourage families to speak to a language access coordinator. If you need different types of support, if you want to know more about what type of programming your child is receiving, they're definitely someone that you can reach out to. If you don't know, you can always ask the parent coordinator. The parent coordinators are people that help connect families with the right person at the school. Sometimes they're able to provide you assistance as well. They can provide you those creation codes that we talked about with My Schools. Or later on, if we have time, we're going to talk about NYCSA, the New York City Schools account. They can provide you those creation codes. They can also help navigate the school system a little bit for you. So again, another person that you can reach out to. And then finally, we encourage families, if after you've, reached out to the teacher, coordinators, if your child receives special education services, if you've spoken to the school-based support team and you need more assistance, we encourage them to reach out to the assistant principal or the principal to ask for support. Now, sometimes, unfortunately, you reach out to the school team and you may not be getting the support that you need, or you may feel like it's not sufficient. You can reach out to the superintendent's office for more assistance, especially if you think that either the school is ignoring your request or is not adequately resolving your concerns. You can also reach out to for any translation or interpretation issues. I know we shared earlier the 718-935-2200 number. You can also go on the support hub. There's a translation and interpretation form link where you can ask for those services by form. You can also make a complaint if you're not receiving those supports. You can call 311, or you can also call us. We're happy to help if you are having challenges related to your child's education. You can always call us and call our helpline because we're happy to provide that support.
Thanks, Diana. So we wanted to also give you some information about the New York City Schools account. This is becoming more and more the way that schools are communicating with parents and sharing important information, report cards, special education documents, busing routes, etc. So we want to make sure that parents know about this and know how to access it and use it. So NYCSA is an online account where parents can view a ton of information about their child. You can see grades and transcripts, class schedule. You can see information about transportation, so the bus route, the name of the bus company, the phone number, all that. You can see what reading and math levels a child is in. You can see attendance information. So if you're worried that maybe your child isn't getting to school on time on the bus, or if they're older and maybe you're worried that your child isn't going to school when they say they are, you can see all this information in NYCSA. You can also see information about their individualized education program or their IEP, information about special education, and you can also access this information in other languages, including Spanish. The link or the website is schoolsaccount.nyc, and we're going to explain a little bit about how you can create that account and access this information. So how to create your NYCSA. You create the NYCSA account online. So parents, before they do this, should have an email address. If they don't have an email address, they should create an email address. If you're working with a parent, you can help them create one. You visit www.schoolsaccount.nyc. They have to enter their email address and a password. Then they also need a creation code. So Diana mentioned that you can speak to parent coordinators to get a bunch of information at school. One of those pieces of information is a creation code to create the NYCSA account. So if the parent doesn't have the creation code, they can go to the school, speak to the parent coordinator, or even somebody at the front desk and tell them that you're looking to create a NYCSA account and you would like the creation code for your specific child. And so it's usually in the form of a letter. Each child has their own code. So the parent, if you have multiple children in school, the parents can access all of the children's information, but each child is going to have their separate NYCSA account or the separate NYCSA page. If you need help on how to create the NYCSA, you can talk to your child's school, as we said, or you can call 311. As always, you can always call AFC. Here are some important tips to wrap up this presentation on if you're working with a family or if you are a parent listening in today. These are certain tips to be able to make sure that you continue to participate in your child's education and that you're a strong advocate for your child. The first is keep your child's records and all letters and notices in a file or somewhere safe at home. Just in case something happens, you can always go back and review a letter or review an IEP, a special education document or something. And so you have all of your files yourself, just in case the school doesn't have them available when you need them. Put everything in writing. So if you're making a request for an interpreter, you can put that in writing. If you are requesting that your child be evaluated for special education, put that in writing. Put everything in writing because that way you keep a record of it and you can bring a letter to the school, they can photocopy it and stamp it to make sure that you use that as a receipt in case you need to ever go back and prove that you were there or that you asked a question or that you asked for a certain service. Send all information that's important by certified mail if you are sending anything to the school by mail. Request confirmation of delivery, or if you're still using fax, you can do that as well. The whole point is to always keep proof of things that you send, because for certain parts of your child's education, it's important to keep certain timelines in mind that the district has to follow. And so somebody at school could claim that they never received something, but you as a parent can always say, actually, I did send it, and here's proof that I sent it or that I brought it to you. Always talk to the staff who works with your child. This is very, very important. The teachers spend the most time with your child during the day. Talk to the teachers when things are going well. Talk to them when things are not going so well. They need to know that you're involved, because the more involved you are, the more they're going to pay attention to how your child is doing and the more they're going to reach out to you if they need anything. Show that you're a concerned and involved parent. If you need an interpreter, ask for an interpreter so that you can communicate with the teacher. If you are going to attend a meeting at school, again, make sure that they have interpretation services if you need it. And always be persistent. If somebody says that there's nothing you can do for your child, get a second opinion. If you speak to the parent coordinator and you don't feel satisfied, speak to a teacher. If not, speak to a principal, or go outside of the school itself. As Diana mentioned, go to the superintendent's office or speak to an advocate, call AFC or another organization that you're working with. But I remember that at the end of the day, you as a parent have a ton of rights in school, and you have the right to advocate for your child in your language to make sure that your child is making progress in school. And that is all for today. If you have any questions, please put it in the chat. Otherwise, again, feel free to call us with any questions. Our helpline is open Monday through Thursday, 10 to 4. The number's on the screen. You can also email us at info@advocatesforchildren.org. If you would like a presentation or a workshop for your community or anybody you're working with or your organization, you can also send us an email and we'd be happy to coordinate that for you.